scarcity, and then maybe we can even employ the veterans to deploy that. So you have all these assets, a labor force that wants to work on something larger than themselves, the technology to do it, evidence that the basis of conflict is derived from the absence of resources. And I would have these conversations with primarily friends of mine in Los Angeles or New York or San Francisco.
That people aren't just fighting over religion, they're fighting over water.
Religion is a good cultivation. I mean, listen, religion and tribalism are a great finisher. But what the difference between me thinking I don't like you and me wanting to kill you is the lack of food, the lack of water, the actual mortal risk, the actual conflict. My point is, everybody thought it was a good idea. Nobody knew how to do it. It wasn't until I ended up with a group of oil men from Louisiana who survived Katrina that I had the same conversation where they said, well, no, why don't we actually do this? Why don't we actually make a company that makes a kit that is a solar-powered hydroponic farming system that can not only provide the resources we're describing, but can also serve as an educational hub, a community hub, and a job creation vehicle.
So let's look at hydroponic farming, because what does this even mean to people? We're told food benefits, that plants grow 30 to 50% faster than soil plants, less pesticides, easy to learn, environmental benefits, 50%
if you're disabled,
less
by the way, you don't have to bend over. There's a lot that's less backbreaking,
and the water is cleaned and recycled. So how does that work in one of these units?
So again, in our case, we use the container as a mechanism to move everything around the world. We don't grow inside the container. There are a lot of folks who do grow inside the container, and that does have its place when real estate is really expensive or the climate is really severe. But when real estate is not really expensive and the climate is not really severe, you're much better to grow outside and capture the benefits of the sunshine. And so we use the container actually to contain a greenhouse that then unpacks at the location so that the container becomes a hub for the marketplace, a place to store valuables, and a support building for the greenhouse. It also becomes the power plant, it's the communications portal, and then obviously the water filtration station.
One of the things that you've said before and that we've talked about is you said that in the old days you thought that pointing out problems and arguing about solutions was useful, and you came to think it isn't anymore. Explain that into what you're doing.
I mean,
now.
Again, I think everybody's effort, anybody who's trying to help in any theater, whether it's in the media, whether it's in politics, whether it's in a hospital, the intention to be useful and to be kind and loving to other human beings is the most important thing, period. So there's no, but what frustrated me about my work in the media was the movement away from facts. And obviously that's gotten a lot worse. And so the thing that's nice about covering sports, or the thing that's nice about covering Wall Street, is there are certain facts you can't deny. Interest rates are interest rates. Google stock price is Google stock price. The Knicks either won or they lost.
Yeah.
Whereas when you leave sports and finance and come to where we are now in the political universe,
right,
where there aren't facts, it becomes very frustrating to attempt to argue any point of view because the counterpoints are not based in the same world that you're basing.
So let's talk politics. Let's talk about some of the facts in politics. There is a caricature of you in the press for people who know you as the Will Ferrell character in, Zoolander, saying, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And the thing about you is then...
I did feel like I was taking crazy pills.
Then when you look at some of what you were saying about the economic system,
right,
not just the rant, I'm going to play right now, you talking about what was wrong with the people running the parties, and you look back on it and go, maybe he was onto something. This is Dylan Ratigan in July. Take a look at this. How could that possibly ever be considered a democracy, particularly in the era of the internet, where the amount of individuals and information that's accessible to the American people is at an all-time high, and yet a very small group of politicians in the Democratic and Republican Party collude to determine who can be in the presidential debate and who cannot? Someone needs to sue both of them for closing the rest of America out of the presidential process. So there you are. You're in your garage. No, that's actually at Tasty Trade in Chicago, which is a group that I'm working with. What are you getting at? What do you want to have happen?
So basically, well, two things. One, that was a clip of work that I do with a company called Tasty Trade, which is actually launching a financial firm called Tasty Works, which is intending to empower investors to take more control over their money, over their destiny. I'm a huge fan of that company. I believe in what they're doing, and I'm grateful that they gave me the studio to work in. What I'm getting at when I was speaking at Tasty Trade about that is the following. Right now, concentrated power, whether it's concentrated power in finance, which again, the guys at Tasty Works are working to resolve, or concentrated power in resources, which we at Helical are working to resolve, or for all of us, concentrated power in politics,
is the root of all of the symptoms that we are suffering from. And so the concentrated power that I was discussing in that conversation there is the concentrated power of the Committee on Presidential Debates that restricts access to the debate stage by making it impossible for anybody who's not a Democrat or Republican to get the visibility. And so when I say somebody needs to sue, what I'm really talking about is Peter Ackerman, who is suing the Committee on Presidential Debates, going before the Federal Election Commission on January 5th, where he is looking to basically win the argument that the CPD is a partisan organization.
And when you say the fix is in, I mean, that's something...
Literally, the fix is in.
And a lot of Bernie Sanders folks felt that was the case with the leadership of the Democratic Party. Then you look at the appointments that are coming out of the Trump transition team. You know a lot about this. What does it say to you that a guy who ran on a rigged system is putting in Goldman and Exxon in charge of things?
The thing that's amazing about Donald Trump, and the thing that I respect the most about him, is Donald Trump knows that words are simply useful to create feelings. So the mistake that people make is they hear Donald Trump use words and they think that those words are supposed to be assigned to facts or outcomes or intentions. Donald Trump doesn't speak because he's trying to address a fact or an intention. Donald Trump uses words to generate feelings, and he's really, really good at doing that. And so by using his words to generate feelings, he knows that people feel the system is rigged, and so he tells them that the system is rigged and they feel good. Donald Trump's actions have nothing to do with his words.